Kids don't forget.
Kids don't forget.
You kids don't forget.
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 So Candie, how you doing today?
I'm good, Khalee. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Happy that you're here. Very excited. So did I say your name correctly? Is Candie your actual name?
Candie is my actual name. I am named after my great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother's name is Candie?
Was Candie.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So if I met you somewhere in the streets and you're like, my name is Candie, I'm like, no, what's really your name? What would you say?
My name is Candie.
And what's the correct spelling?
Candie.
Candie.
Yes.
Okay. Has your name ever been mispronounced in the history of your life?
All the time.
What have you gotten?
Mostly Candace.
Candace. Okay.
Mostly Candace. It doesn't bother me though. Like at all. If you call me Candace, I'm like, I know who you're talking to.
Right.
You know,
right.
I know.
Unless there's actually a Candace in the room.
Unless it's actually a Candace in the room. Like true. But most people call me Candace. Like, I've gotten like cards and things in the mail from, let's just say, associates, right? And they'll say Candace on it.
Right.
I know who they're talking about, so I don't get mad.
Got it.
Who names their child Candie?
Right. Okay. So what were some of your nicknames growing up? Because your name is actually a nickname for people, for Candaces they call them Candie for short. Or it's not really short, but what were some of your nicknames growing up?
I didn't really have one. So my name is Candie Brooke.
Candie Brooke.
Candie Brooke.
Okay.
When I was younger, people on my mom's side of the family called me Brooke. And my father's side called me Candie. So my mom told me a story about when I went to preschool. The teacher asked me my name. I said my name was Brooke, because that's what I was used to being called.
Okay.
And if it's people who like knew me when I was a little kid and were like a really toddler and they call me Brooke, like I'll answer because I know like who they're talking about. So that's about it. Just Candie and Brooke.
Okay. So if you were like in San Francisco right now, somebody was like, yo, Brooke, you know that's somebody.
They know me.
Okay.
And I'm turning around like.
Right. It's somebody like, you know.
Someone who knew me when I was real little.
Okay,
like
got you.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Like okay. So really, Brooke was your only nickname, even though it's your middle name.
It's my middle name.
Right.
Other than that, I didn't really have a
Interesting. So, question: where are you from?
West Philly.
You're from West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Born and raised, like Will Smith.
Yes. The playground is where I spend most of my day.
Okay. Where in West Philly? So West Philly is huge.
In the area of 57th Street between Market, Baltimore, that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe your neighborhood growing up?
So, growing up, it just seemed like a wonderful place, right? I didn't know until I was a little older that it was the hood.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I guess that's because like the hood is based on like your mentality, your household, like whatever.
Right.
But it was just a place that I lived.
Okay.
Thinking back, I know it wasn't all that great, you know, but I didn't. I don't know. It was just a place growing up.
How would you measure like the safety? So obviously you got different levels of childhood, like elementary school, middle school, high school. By middle school, you kind of know your hood.
Exactly. So I'm going to say this, right? As a child, like a toddler, I didn't think about like the safety portion of it. Not a toddler, I'm going to say 7, 8. Like I didn't really think about like the safety. I remember like my parents would my father, right, would put me on the bus at 57th and Spruce.
Okay.
And I went to Lee, which was on 48th and Spruce. So they had these things. It's west part of Westfield now, but it was these little like trailers called the little red chicken coops is what they called them.
Okay.
And that's where I went to kindergarten. He would walk me to 57th and Spruce, put me on the 42 bus, and I would ride down to 48th and Spruce and get off the bus by myself.
In kindergarten?
In kindergarten. No, yes, kindergarten. So I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And so when you think of that, you think that you're safe. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would never let my 5-year-old get on the bus.
You personally?
Yes, by himself and go to school. But so he said, sit in the front seat, and when it's time to get off the bus, yell my stop, and get off the bus. And that's
Wow.
what I did.
So you were really a city girl. You really a Philly girl for real.
I was
You
really,
catching the
yes,
bus by yourself at 5.
At 5.
Wow.
At 5.
Wow.
Yes.
And you went to Lee Elementary?
To Lee for kindergarten.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. So when you got older, like high school, let's talk about those years, like 16, 17, 18. Now you really know the people in your neighborhood and how it is. How do you describe it then?
Well, I knew before then that it was bad. I knew before then that it was bad.
Okay.
Like I said, I would get on the bus and go to school by myself in kindergarten. Starting in first grade, I went to Hamilton, which was like right down the street from my house.
Okay.
And I would walk to school. You know, nowadays parents would get locked up for doing this type of stuff. But my mom left and went to work. My dad went to work. I would get up, eat my bowl of cereal, get myself dressed, and go to school.
Okay. In first grade?
First grade. I'm not going to say as much as first grade, but I know for sure third grade I was doing it. First, I'm going to say first and second, I think I was still like going to school with my dad in the morning. Like I would go to his job.
Okay.
And then he worked at a school.
Okay.
And
your dad was a teacher?
No, my dad was a building engineer.
Okay. Okay.
So I would go to work with him in the morning, and then I would leave and go to school, and then come back to his job after school.
Okay.
Yeah, but around third grade, I'm going to say third grade, I remember walking after school to his job one day, and someone yelled like, "Hey, little girl, come here. Hey, little girl." And I got scared and started running, and they started to chase me.
Really?
Yes. And I like ran. So this may have started on like, I'm going to say like, I don't know if you're familiar with the neighborhood, but like 57th and like Cedar.
Okay.
And I knew on Catherine, it was a crossing guard. So I remember like running. The person was chasing me. And I got to the crossing guard and the person stopped. And I like looked back and I just kept running and they didn't chase me anymore.
Okay.
At that moment, I knew that the neighborhood was bad.
And this was when you were like in second grade?
Had to be like second grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Now, you mentioned that you were pretty much walking by yourself. So I guess the logical next question is, were you an only child growing up?
Yes. I'm not an only child, but my closest sibling is 14 and a half years older than me. So in second grade, my brother was in college.
Okay, got it. So in your house, you just grew up by yourself. It was just you?
No.
No.
So I have a brother.
Okay.
Who lived in a home with me. I also have a stepsister and a stepbrother who did not live in a home with me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But going to school every day, like your day to day, it was you rolling by yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you grow up with both parents?
I did.
The whole time?
And it was a gap. So in middle school, 8th grade, my father wasn't there.
Okay. I was just about to say you're the minority in the hood, so we always say like the most common, I guess the least amount of kids in the hood are the ones who live with just their dad, right? Agree? Mm-hmm. That's like the most uncommon thing. There's like 1 out of 1,000. And then I would say number 2 is kids who grew up with both parents the whole time. Mm-hmm. That's super rare. Mm-hmm. It's super rare that you know a lot of people who have both parents, period. True. Period, right? So, but you're close. So it was just that 1 year gap of 8th grade?
It was about a 1.5 year gap.
Okay. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Do you feel like that gap affected you? Was it like a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Like looking back now that you're an adult, like, how do you feel about that? How did you feel about it then?
That was the best time of my childhood.
Really?
What? Oh my gosh. So my father and mother, they're both very strict.
Okay.
But for that period of time, he wasn't there. My mother was still strict, but she was a little more lenient than she would have been with him.
With your
there.
dad being home, right?
Yeah. I went to my cousin's house more.
Okay.
You know, was able to go to the playground with not in my neighborhood, but with my cousins. They live in like the late Yaden area.
Right.
We
Okay.
would go to the playgrounds, go to the movies, like things that I definitely would not have been able to do with my dad there.
Okay.
I could sneak and talk to boys on the phone.
Right.
Could not do that with my dad home. So when he came back,
So when your dad left, the rubber band stretched.
stretched. It didn't pop.
It didn't pop, but it stretched. Got it.
Yes.
So you lived it. You know the difference between a single parent home and a 2-parent home.
Yes.
Okay. And you feel like looking back as an adult, 2-parent is more beneficial than 1-parent?
It depends, right?
Okay.
So I lived in a 2-parent household, but it was a lot of stress on my mother. My father was, I guess what you would call like a runner, had tons of women.
Okay.
And would be disrespectful with it at times. So like seeing that stress on my mother makes me think like, is growing up in a 2-parent household like better?
Okay, got you.
Than one, you know, growing up in a single parent household and it's not a lot of stress and you don't have to see your mother going through things and being disrespected.
That child might be in a better position than the 2-parent household.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's kind of traumatic, like a lot of trauma going on.
Yes.
Got it. So let's talk about that. Like let's talk about your relationship growing up with your mom, with your parents, with your mom and your dad. You start with either parent you want.
My relationship with both of my parents was great, right? No matter what my dad did, my mother always encouraged a positive relationship with my father.
Okay.
My dad was really like one of my best friends.
Okay.
We did everything together. Everything, like, we had the best relationship.
What are some of the things you did with your dad, like growing up?
Growing up?
Yes.
Okay, so growing up was a little different than when I got older.
Okay.
Growing up, I'm going to say I spent a lot of time with him in the morning and in the afternoon, right? Going to school, after school, while my mom was at work. Just the daily routine things, you know, the cooking dinner with my dad, him teaching me little things around the house.
Okay. So your dad taught you a lot of that.
My dad taught me a lot of things because my mom was working like long hours.
Okay.
I can't really describe it. Like we just had a great relationship.
And what's your dad's name, by the way?
Ernest.
Oh, shout out to Mr. Ernest.
Yes.
And what's your mom's name?
Deborah.
Shout out to Miss Deborah. Okay. Or do they call her Miss Debbie? If I was in the hood right now and she came outside, I would say, "Hi, Miss."
Miss Deb.
Miss Deb. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And do they say Mr. Ern or Mr. Ernest?
Mr. Ern, Mr. Ernie, Mr. Ernest, like every.
Okay, got it.
But with my mom, I spent a lot of time with my mom. You know, too. Great relationship there as well. But we did like the girl things. We go shopping. We go out to dinner. Go to the mall. She would do those types of things with me.
Okay. So you felt like you had a nice balance between the two.
I had a nice balance between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With them, was always one parent there with you, or were you ever home by yourself? Like, was that a thing?
I would be home by myself. Yeah. Like when they were at work.
Okay.
As I got older, I would be home by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
But younger, were you a latchkey child?
Oh,
or?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay.
You heard me say I got up in the morning by myself,
You did get
right?
in the very morning, and so you let yourself in as well.
I let myself in as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So other than that one incident, you never really had too many problems like getting back and forth between school and home.
That was the only time I really had an incident where I felt like I was in danger.
Okay.
You know, but there's been times when in kindergarten, again, everything always happened in kindergarten, right? I don't know if I can remember back that far. I sitting out there waiting, and my cousin was supposed to pick me up from school, and she didn't come.
Ooh.
She may have forgot, right? And I walked from school to my dad's job. So this was 48th and Spruce to 56th and Christian, because he worked at Harity.
How far a walk is that?
It's very far for a 5-year-old.
For a 5-year-old.
Extremely far.
Right.
It's far for an adult.
And that's interesting that nobody stopped you. Like, hey, little girl.
Nobody stopped me.
Right.
I got to his job.
And that's amazing. As a 5-year-old, you knew where you were going,
I
though.
knew how to go. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And I got there. He wasn't there.
Right.
So I went around looking. Now, I knew that sometimes my dad would leave work when he wasn't supposed to.
Got it.
So I knew not to ask anybody if they saw him.
Wow.
Right? So
Your street smarts was on 100 at 5.
Right? So when I didn't see him, I was like, okay, I don't know where he is or whatever. So I left and walked to my grandmother's house.
Okay.
And she lived.
Where'd your grandma live?
53rd and Willows.
Okay. Now, how far was that from the job?
It's far, but not as far as the distance that I had already walked.
But having said that, you're 5.
I'm 5, right? Yeah,
Right.
So little legs were tired. But going to her house was a little different.
What's your grandma's name?
Eunice.
Shout out to Grandma Eunice.
I don't.
This is your mom or your dad's mom?
Mom.
Your mom's mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Southwest Philly area.
We're not.
But I had to cross Baltimore Avenue.
Which I do know. That's like the major.
Yeah.
If we compare it to like New York, that would be like 5th Avenue or something like that. So no, not
but
5th Avenue.
I had to go through the intersection.
It's a major street.
Yeah, it's a major street for a 5-year-old to cross. Right?
Okay, right.
And go up and around the area. Like if you were familiar with 53rd Street around that area, you would know. Like back there, it was like a gun range, I guess some car lots or like things like that. It was nothing really back there.
Okay, got it.
And I walked and went to my grandmother's house.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So these are the things you experienced. So speaking of your parents, like you know how they raised you, and because you were there, and you mentioned that you have kids now. What are some similarities and differences between their parenting styles and your parenting style? What did you take from them? And then what did you also say, I'm never going to do this with my kids?
So